Stephen King. Love some Stephen King. I've got a Stephen King constant reader, expert, knowledgeable person who's going to give us a top 10 today. I bet some of these books are ones I haven't even read. Maybe you haven't either. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, suspense, whatever the heck we want to talk about, and other nerdy things. Today, I am here with a special guest to talk Stephen King and some of the best that Stephen King has put out there over decades of writing as a very, very prolific author. So let me bring him. You know him, you love him. My good friend and friend of the show, Eric Hahn. Hello, Eric. How you doing today?
Hey, great. Thanks for having me back, Jim.
Hey,
I'm excited to talk Stephen King with you.
I hope I didn't build you up too much there, but from my perspective, you're an expert on Stephen King. I like Stephen King. You're an expert on Stephen King.
Well, if expert means you've read all of his stuff, a lot of it multiple times, and now you're getting into the stuff about the stuff, then yes, I'm not the expertest expert that ever experted, but I'm well read. I'm a constant reader for sure.
You are the most expertly experted reader that I know for Stephen King, though. So yeah, you're expert number one in our book.
All right.
And it is something we have common ground on. We do enjoy a lot of the same Stephen King books, though not necessarily the same favorites.
Except for Duma Key, as your viewers all know. Okay, viewers, I'm on a mission to convince Jim to do it audiobook in faster, bigger chunks. And that way the pacing will be a lot better than
when I finish the other 1,500 books on my TBR. Maybe I'll get back to it.
I'm sure you won't, but it's better than you think it is.
Probably. So all of you viewers, again, thank you for being with us today. We enjoy being able to just talk books and to bring you on in. We hope you'll enjoy this episode. And if you do, be sure to let us know by hitting that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a great time to do it. Just go ahead, click subscribe. And that notification bell over there will help you not miss any new content that we put out. So, Eric, besides being an expert, for me, expert Stephen King person, what else is unique and special about you that makes you a great person to talk about books with?
Oh my goodness, Jim. Well, I'm an educator. I'm currently a school principal, and
Nice.
I'm a voracious reader. I do get outside Stephen King every once in a while. I'm a collector of animals that most people find scary. That's tarantulas.
Fascinating tarantulas. I've seen his tarantula collection, people. They are for real.
And I am an author. I am getting ready to release my third book, and I write middle grade fantasy. That is Jake the Dragon Talker and sequels.
Absolutely.
And the third one, Owen and Emelina, is about to come out December 1st of this year, 2024, if you're watching this sometime way in the future.
Watch for this. And check out his whole series. I've read the first two books. I've read a beta version of this third book, and now it's even better. So I'm excited for it, and you should be too. Adults will enjoy it too. And interestingly, if you're a Stephen King fan, there's extra bonus things in this trilogy because, Eric, as a Stephen King fan, just can't help.
Huge Stephen King fan.
Putting it into his book in some very amazing ways. Some Easter eggy, some blatant in your face in this last book. It's awesome.
There's so much Stephen King in the third book, you will want to pick it up. Owen and Emelina, December 1st.
Get it now. Well, get it December 1st.
Get it then.
Can they pre-order? Is that something you have set up?
No, you can't do pre-orders on Amazon until you're super famous, which I'm not quite yet.
I bet if you paid them a lot of money, they'd let you, but that's probably not the route you want to go.
Not yet.
Yeah. All right. So, Stephen King, you have taken the time to craft a list of top 10 books. What's your criteria in how you've created this top 10 list?
Oh, well,
because we do a lot of top 10 lists on this channel.
Yes. I'm excited to share the top 10. I have to say, and this is my disclaimer, it's very conflicting for me to try to rank Stephen King books. There's so much emotional connection when you read a book, and a lot of that is tied to where you were and what you were doing and who you were when you read
What
it.
point in life? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And since Stephen King's career spans so many decades, and I've been reading him for over 20 years now, I think that really plays into it. So I have my trusty Stephen King Bible that has everything about Stephen King. When we were getting ready to do this video, I just opened it up and looked at all the novels
Yep.
and just started writing down ones I like. And then, as you force me to do all the time, I put them in order. So I had to pick a top one. The top one is easy for me, but
Okay.
then putting the rest of them in order was a little bit more challenging. But I'm happy with my order. I'm excited to see what you'll think about my list.
We'll see if I'm happy with your order and if all of our viewers are happy. So this is the reminder right now as you're watching this, you have thoughts on these, use the comment box. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us
I
know
will
how
be tuning
awesome you
in.
believe Eric is or how imbecilic his decisions are. You decide. I'm still going to
Oh
like you
boy.
anyways, Eric. It's all good.
Yeah, we're good. All
Unless
right.
you put Duma Key on there. Okay, there's a line.
I was tempted, Jim, but it's not in my top 10. It's not in my top 10 legit, so we're good.
Okay, let's start this list. Always start at the bottom and then work our way to number 1. What's your number 10?
All right, number 10 is The Long Walk, written as Richard Bachman,
Ooh,
1979, one of his early ones.
yeah, yeah. That's not as well known or as well thought of as many of his books.
No.
What gets it up so high for you?
So The Long Walk, so here's the plot in a nutshell.
Hmm,
It's a
hmm.
dystopian America. 100 boys, every year, 100 boys aged 16 to 19-ish are selected to compete in the long walk. The prize? Anything you want. The rules? Keep a pace of 4 miles an hour without stopping. One winner, 99 dead boys. So
Ooh.
it's a super simple premise,
But very
but
dark dystopian
oh
story.
yeah, there's a reason it's Bachman. And if you fans know Bachman, that's his like way to write darker stuff.
As if
The
his normal stuff wasn't dark enough.
right, right.
Carry
The
anyone? Yes, ay, ay, ay.
But I this goes on my list because it's a reread for me. It's so good. The writing is so raw. It's one of King's most haunting books. And the last time, fun fact, the last time I read it audiobook only while walking. And I tried to maintain the pace that is the pace for the book, people. And this is a criticism of The Long Walk. People are like, what was Stephen King thinking? No one can walk this fast. It is not a walking pace.
No,
4
it's
miles an
very
hour, 15-minute mile, it seems doable, but not walking. Maybe you have to be like 6'5" and walk really fast.
I walk every morning for exercise when I'm really well conditioned and really pushing myself. I do between 15 and 16 minutes. But that's like my top walking speed. And I am 6 foot, and got long legs. I'm more naturally, when you roll out of bed in the morning, like 17, 18-minute mile.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Maybe they were speed walking.
I mean, if you slow down, you get shot, so that's good motivation.
Keep walking. Okay, that's a great start to this list because it makes me want to reread that. I haven't touched that in a long time. Like
It's
I
not
hadn't even
very
thought
long
of it.
either.
So yeah, I may
Yeah,
have to
it's for
throw
Stephen
that
King,
back in
it's a
the
short book.
TBR and definitely do it as an audiobook this time. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, do it during your morning walks, Jim.
Right? All right. Number 9.
Number 9 is The Eyes of the Dragon, 1984.
All right. All right. We're getting a little blend of genres with this one. I like it.
Yep, yep.
Tell us
So
about
this
the
one,
story.
King's foray into epic fantasy, a struggle for power between good and evil that transforms the destinies of two brothers born into royalty. But here's why it's my favorite. First, it's the most like the books I'm writing. It's
Okay.
straight fantasy. It's a
Mhm.
fantasy kingdom. there are dragons,
Yep.
there are wizards. And speaking of wizards, this book features King's most recurring bad guy, RF, the original RF,
There you
Randall
go.
Flagg.
There you go.
And he is just so fascinating and so evil and so scary. It just makes this whole book, it's an awesome tale.
Now, I don't remember the years things came out exactly. I'll probably throw them up on the screen with with the picture. I'll like drop the year underneath or something. But was this the first? This really was the first time he used this character?
Well, arguably the Man in Black and the Gunslinger is RF, kind of. I mean, he was kind of coalescing his bad guys,
Yeah, he hadn't
and
quite
they
settled
had
yet.
different names.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
in later books, it's like he goes, actually, they're all the same guy. So Eyes of the Dragon 1984, this would be one of the earlier flags,
Okay.
definitely before. Actually, no, I'm totally wrong. The Stand
Oh, The Stand
flag
came
is
out
in.
first before this? Oh, yeah.
If you count 78, the
Yeah,
78
yeah.
version, which
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
then The
original.
Stand is totally the beginning of him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So early, but not the first. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Very good. All right. Number 8.
Number 8, The Green Mile,
Oh,
1996.
yes, I love The Green Mile.
Oh, such a good one. The
It
last stop
hits.
for convicted
Hmm.
criminals is the Green Mile, a row of cells for those who await the death penalty. In this case, by Old Sparky, an electric chair. But nobody is ready for the newest occupant, John Coffey,
Mm,
JC, a childlike giant who can do miracles.
he's
Just a
amazing.
great,
The
uh,
adaptation of this was so good.
one of the most beautiful Stephen King movies.
Yeah.
The other one might be on my list too. It's a great story. Here's why you can like this book extra, because this was a Stephen King experiment to answer the question, will anyone read serialized novels
I
anymore?
remember I read this live as it came out, as it was
Uh-huh.
published.
In parts. Yeah,
Wasn't
it's
it
a
was it
six-part.
4 or 5?
I
6?
believe it was 6.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I
I
remember
might
eating
be
those
wrong, but I
little
think it was
novellas
6.
and, "Give me more. I need the next one."
And King has said in multiple interviews, he did not know how the story would end as he was writing it. And it was stressful for him because he was coming up against deadlines. So,
So, for
yeah,
those of you
fun.
watching here, before we freak you out anymore, if it's not already obvious, this is spoiler light. We're talking about the books. We're not ruining them. So, while we'll mention how incredible the ending is of The Green Mile, we're not going to tell you how it ends. That would like that would be really bad of us. Can you imagine if someone hasn't read it and we told them the ending?
Yeah.
That would be so cruel. We can't do
Yeah.
that to you. You need to experience the Green Mile. So, good call. Like that.
Yeah.
Now, what have you saved for higher up? Because that's a really good one. But and
This
since
is why you see I'm twisted. I mean, because
yeah,
my top might not be
in a
everyone
different day,
else's.
your order would probably be different.
Yeah.
I will say though, with that adaptation, the guy who plays John Coffey I mean, he passed away too early. Also,
Michael Clark Duncan.
yeah, but he
Perfect.
was
Perfect
amazing
guy.
and perfect for this role. He just
Yeah.
nailed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a
Yeah.
great cast to
Agreed.
work with too, but he delivered.
You know, that one proves the closer you stay to the Stephen King novel, the more successful the adaptation. Take note, filmmakers.
Indeed. All right, we're up to number 7. What you got for us?
Number 7, Black House with Peter Straub, 2001.
Okay, okay.
Oh, you don't
Not
agree?
not one of my favorites. I
Yeah.
certainly have read it and enjoyed it, but wow, wow, ahead of
Yeah.
Stone, like that leaves only 6 left, and there's way more that I'd have in the top 6 ahead of Black House. So now you got me a little worried. But tell
I
us
told you.
why you put Black House up there.
So, Black House is a sequel to The Talisman, which was another Straub King collaboration
Mhm.
much earlier, almost 20 years
Yeah, it
before.
took a long time for them to get to it.
Yep. So in this one, their child protagonist from The Talisman has grown up. He's a retired homicide detective trying to just get away. But a new serial killer comes to town, and when it's clear that he's traveling through the territories, the same other dimension that our protagonist can travel through,
Mm-hmm.
he's drawn back in to hunt him. So I don't, this is the writing. It's the writing that gets me on these collaborations. I don't know
Okay.
if it's the Straub touch or just the two mixing very well together. And Jim, to be honest, not sure it would make the top 10 as a standalone, but as a companion to the Talisman, it's just super satisfying. It's a good
Okay.
wrap to those doubles.
I will say though, it does stand on its own. It's better if you obviously have the talisman
Sure.
first, which feeds into it. But there's enough difference because of the
Oh
time
yeah.
jump that you can just read Black House, and it's a
Oh
great
yeah.
book. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you were gonna say they were gonna do a third.
They talked for years about another collaboration, about going back with the same character.
Because there's more story to be told when you get
Oh
to the end
yeah.
of Black House.
And even a couple as late as a couple of years ago, King was saying, I'd love to work with him again. But Straub was having a lot of medical health
Yep,
problems and he passed away. So
it was.
there will never be
Was it
another one.
earlier this year or was it 2023?
It- I think it was 2023.
Okay,
Very recently
I know
though.
it's recent.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was a sad day.
Yeah.
All right. So, number 6.
This is where I start messing with your mind.
Oh,
Because my number 6 is The Stand, 1978 or 1990, if you want the full version.
which is the true and appropriate version to read.
Of
But
course.
my heart is happy that it's on your top 10 and sad that it's only number 6.
So far down. Well, yeah, because everyone says, "Oh, The Stand," because it's so long, and I read it, and I could be so proud of that. But
It's my
here
favorite. It's my favorite King novel.
it is great. So here's what I think about The Stand. Well, first a little summary. I believe this was his first very huge book. He had gotten s- about 3 or 4 other books under his belt at this time, and he said, "I'm on fire now. I'm going to do something big."
Well, and the key there, it was published in the 70s, then the unabridged version in the 90s, because
In
when
the
he tried to
90s.
get the first one published, they're like, no, no,
They were like,
Steve,
"Well, you're not
Steve,
that
that's
famous
too
yet,
long.
buddy."
That's too long, Steve. Later on,
Yeah,
it's like, yes, Mr. King, whatever you'd like us to print.
whatever
Yeah.
you want. Exactly right. Yeah. You took the words out of my mouth. This book is what King does best, I think. Or he does post-apocalyptic in a beautiful way. So pandemic decimates like 99% of the world's population or
Yeah.
more, leaving a handful of good people and a handful of bad people. Remember Randy Flagg? To have an epic
Randy.
battle. Yep.
Yeah.
So does it get more epic? Probably not.
Wow.
And like you said, a lot of people list this as their top King. I don't, because I love the first half. I love the end of the world part.
Hmm. Just done really
Um,
well. Yeah.
there are, and King says this too. There are parts that drag, that just are like he's twiddling his thumbs, trying to figure out what to do. And while it's super satisfying in the end, and overall a wonderful book, it keeps it here on my list. Ha!
Okay. Okay. I get you. I understand. There's so many things. I mean, we've done an episode already
We did a
just
whole
on the
episode on The
stand.
Stand.
Okay, so you can go find that episode. We had another person collaborating with us. We talked all about
Yep,
it, so we
Colin.
won't take any really more time on the stand here. But it's the one I have reread the most of Stephen King, and I appreciate it more each time I read it.
Every
There's so
time.
much packed into it. So yeah.
You like that, Happy Crappy? The kid.
Oh man, and there's so many great characters.
Oh, yeah.
We
Oh,
could
yeah.
go on and on, but we have gone on and on. Again, the other episode.
Yep.
Go find that other episode. But
That's what caused him problems. He needed to kill off some of those characters. There were too many.
which he does.
He did.
Hint, hint.
If you haven't read The Stand by now, I mean, you should be spoiled. Shame on you. Read it.
And
Read the
it has been
1990
adapted
version.
on television twice.
A couple
Have
times,
you
yeah.
watched them both?
I don't think I saw the new one yet because I was so disheartened with the old one. And I'm a person who, if the movie ruins it, it's like, I'll just stick with the
Oh,
book.
I really enjoyed the original one. I
I
tried watching the second one and I quit halfway through. I was like, "This is just not doing it for me." I feel
yeah.
badly because I don't DNF things, I need to get back and watch that again.
Well, I mean, how can you make a 1,200 or however long that book is, 1,500-page book into a movie? You can't. You're gonna have to cut
Yeah, you cut
tons of
things, you
stuff.
adapt things, but they found a way to do it, and the particular actors they brought for certain roles in that original miniseries were just spot on in my mind. I
I
see
agree.
Gary Sinise
Stu,
now. I see, you
yeah.
know, these certain characters are just Rob Lowe. I can see him. He's supposed to be deaf. I can see these things. Ah,
We
yeah.
said we weren't gonna keep talking about The Stand. Here we are, though. It
Let's move on
deserves it.
then.
It deserves
Number
it.
5, we're at the top half of the list now. These have to be
Top
the best
half.
of the best.
Oh boy. Oh boy, you're gonna be disappointed.
Ugh.
Number 5 is The Talisman with Peter Straub, 1984.
No, I agree that The Talisman is better than Black House. So your choice of which one gets higher, I'm with you.
Yeah. And it's better than The Stand, arguably.
Bite your tongue.
So in this tale, again, this I think this appeals to me because I write for middle grade. I work with kids. I love kids.
And it features a
a-
kid.
And its protagonist is a kid of that coming of age, adventuresome age where things are scary, but he does them anyway.
Okay,
So
you're
the
giving me
the
hope for what your number 1 will be, by the way, with that kind of language. But go on.
the the themes are just like many of King's books. I mean, people refuse to read King because it's too scary, but an overwhelming number of his books are happy ending, are good theme, are like good versus evil and good wins.
Yeah. Even
And
some
I
really
I
dark
guess I won't
ones
spoil it and
that
say
come
this
out
is
well
one
in
of
the end.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this introduces us to the territories, which is another version of King's other dimension.
Well,
Um,
because of our previous down the list, we already know that the protagonist from this book lives because
yep,
he's
he
in the next
lives.
book. Yeah.
Yep. So in the territories, a very interesting part of this book and very well used is every character except our protagonist has a twinner. This is a person who is like your counterpart, your other dimension counterpart, and sometimes they're really bad people. But anyway, the character has to go through these territories and have all these adventures to
Mhm.
get what he needs to save his mother's life. So it's an epic quest adventure. Who doesn't love an epic quest adventure?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I already said why I love this book. I just love a young protagonist, and King is so good at writing kids. So
So
there's
that's partly inspired you as an author for what you do.
yes,
Yeah.
most definitely, most definitely. So
All right. Take us to number 4, my friend.
number 4, The Wastelands, which is book 3 of The Dark Tower,
Okay.
1991.
Okay. All right. It's one of the better ones of The Dark Tower. I mean, I've read the
Yeah,
whole series twice, and
yeah,
it's one of the better ones. I think my favorites are not necessarily your favorites, but The Wastelands is solid. Tell us
yeah.
about it and your reason.
So this is the third volume of the Dark Tower series. So Roland and his quartet, which is his little group, have joined up, and they're ready to now go to the Dark Tower, and they are starting another long journey. I like quest novels.
Indeed. You
This
also,
one,
by the way, like parallel worlds and portal stories,
yes,
portal fantasy, and it's
love it.
totally there. Yeah.
I think it's quite possible there are other dimensions, and King has just tapped into them. But yeah, this book, I'm actually audio listening to it right now
Okay.
because I will do that over and over. A journey filled with all kinds of delightful peril, including a pirate named Gasher and a sentient and happens to be insane train named Blaine.
Best part of the
Eh,
story. Train named Blaine.
Blaine
Absolutely.
is a pain. And a deranged human called the TikTok Man. I mean, it's so full
Uh,
of just
yeah.
fun, creative, terrifying amazingness. Also, I believe in this one. Now I'm going to have to check myself. This is the book where we meet Oi, the delightful Billy Bumbler
I
that
think so.
becomes Jake's best pal.
Yeah.
So there's another Martinet favorite. It has a good dog.
We also, if I remember right near the end, we also get a very prominent sighting of RF,
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah.
where it's like blatant, you know who this is,
He,
where before you could figure things out, now it's like,
Yep, yep. The TikTok man is down for the count, and then RF comes in and saves the day.
yeah. Something I like
Spoiler
about
light.
The Wastelands is that it's a beautiful blend of fantasy, sci-fi, western. I mean, the whole mashup that is the Dark Tower is on full display in The Wastelands.
Oh, yeah, yeah, and it's just so fun and amazing character growth and development too from the writing side.
Mhm.
Just a beautiful, beautiful story.
Okay. All right. So we are now on to the final three, your three highest ranking. You're going to break my heart with at least one of them, probably. I don't know.
Probably.
Give us number three.
Number 3 is Desperation, 1996.
Wow.
Yeah.
We differ. Wow. Nothing wrong with Desperation, but to be top three, mind
Top 3.
blown. Okay.
So this may be where I was in my life and that kind of stuff. I mean, in 1996, I didn't read Desperation in 1996, but I did listen to it on the way from Oregon to Chicago in the car on my way to get married. So,
Which is really hilarious when you think about it.
yeah, I mean, it's a great big book. So this one, I just keep coming back to it. I think I can without shame admit I've read Desperation probably 6 times,
And
and it's
it's
a
one
big
I've
book.
definitely only read once.
So this tale in a little mining town in desolate Nevada, something evil has awakened. And then the evil possesses a gigantic maniacal cop who basically goes on a murderous rampage through the whole town and then goes onto the highway and abducts people that are passing by. But little does he know those abductions had a purpose. God will use those people he swiped from the highway to wipe this offense off the face of the earth. Or at least that's what they're hoping to do.
Yeah, there you go.
So let me tell you why I like this book,
Please
and
do.
maybe you'll want to read it again.
I might.
This book is, I believe, Stephen King's most poignant writing about the struggle of good versus evil and the questions about God.
Okay.
Who is God? Why does he let bad things happen? And what's he up to overall? So this one, the more times I read it, the more it actually strengthens my faith, because King's known for telling the truth and asking hard questions and saying hard things. And the answer that he gives in this novel is that there is a God and God is love. So it's beautiful that way, even though it is truly one of his most gory and just there's a big sense of desperation
Yeah.
through most of the novel.
All right,
It's
dude, you
it's
are
very
getting me
dark.
to think I need to reread this book. You are intriguing me. So well done. Well done. So I'm thinking back in my old gray memory cells. Was Desperation the one where there was also a book that was like an opposite and the covers even
Yes.
like flip flop? What was the other book?
Yes. The Regulators by
Yes.
Richard
Yes, yes,
Bachman.
yes. I
Yep,
remember that.
and that is super weird to read them back to back, and here's another fun fact, at least that I've discovered. Depending on which one you read first, that's the one you like the best.
Uh-huh.
But objectively, Desperation is a far better novel. It's just a better novel. But
Okay.
The Regulators, same character names. At times, they're like totally flipped. Like the maniacal cop in Desperation is a good cop in The
It
Regulators.
was another writing experiment that King
Hmm.
was playing with.
And he put those out at the same time. He was like, check this out.
Yeah.
Something new for you guys.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, amazing.
Nice. All right. Number two.
Number 2. Oh man, you're just gonna shake your head. Number 2 is The Drawing of the Three, book 2 of the Dark Tower series,
Well,
1987.
I'm a fan of the Dark Tower, so okay, all right. You're leaving off so many books.
So
That's
many.
the only problem. But you
Well,
lean
you gave
into
me
the
10.
quality of the writing, so You dig the
Yeah,
writing of this book.
I dig the writing. So this is book 2 of the Dark Tower series, in which Roland the gunslinger must open 3 magical doors on a sinister beach, all 3 doors leading him to others that he must draw into his world to
Mhm.
help him on his quest to the tower. I think this is Stephen King's most fun book. Like, it is fun to read it. It feels like he just had an absolute blast writing it.
Okay.
I have done, like I told you, I've probably been to the tower maybe 4 or 5 times. I've read this book double that.
Hmm.
Sometimes I just read it on its own because it's just so fun. I think late 80s King was just, well, I mean, he was doing some other substances that aren't good for you, but yeah. But he was just having an absolute blast and putting out some amazing stuff. And Drawing of the Three is, it's just one of my favorite books to read. It
Okay.
fun. That's the reason for me.
Now I hear you. You've got 2 books from the Dark Tower here. Your final one is not from the Dark Tower. I know what your final book is. I am
I hope
100%
you
sure.
do.
100% sure. But I will say my favorite book from the Dark Tower is The Wolves of the Kala. And I will die on that hill. That book is so good. So much fun. There's so
Yes.
much that just gets added in that you're like, yes, we're back at the okay corral here now, and just
Yeah, the massing the townspeople to fight against the robotic enemy. Yeah, the whole Dark Tower is great. There was a split second in coming up with this list where I was tempted to cheat it in as one of the books, The Dark Tower. But it is 7 or 8 if you count Wind Through the Keyhole. It's 7 complete stories that are all great. Don't disagree with you, Jim. I mean, but you gave me 10, so and
yep.
I
You
thought
had
I'll
to make
pick my
choices.
top 2
Hard
Dark Tower.
choices. Yep.
So
Which leaves us to number 1. And if I'm right, you've already said its title numerous times throughout the series, including the last few sentences.
wait a minute, you just said it. Oh, I said it again.
And the book is
It,
yes,
1986.
I love it. So I will not fight this. The Stand's my number 1, but it
Yeah,
is probably number 2. I
yeah.
love it.
Nothing compares in my book. So I mean, please tell me you already know about it, people, but Derry, Maine, Stephen King's fictionalized hometown, Bangor, but Derry, Maine is haunted by a horrific creature that masquerades as a clown. But it's really the whole town that is cursed. And every 27 years or so, the monster comes out to feed. This book, man, so I think it's my favorite. I don't even know how anyone could conceive of a book like this, storylines like this.
Yeah, and how
It's
brilliantly he
it's
weaves
amazingly
2 different
woven.
timelines that are just
Yeah.
so tightly together. It's just,
Yep.
wow.
Again, it has that satisfying kid protagonist, kids coming together as a group of friends, the power of childhood belief and that bond of friendship. Stephen King will say this is a book about memory, and
Oh, yeah.
he's totally right. It's just a masterpiece. I mean, where I think it trumps The Stand is that there's no down. There's no like slow middle part
Okay,
in
okay, I was
it.
like, there's some down moments. But no,
Yeah,
I hear what you're
there,
saying
there's
now.
there's no slump in the writing of it. It just takes you the whole way to the
Yeah,
end,
yeah.
and it just keeps hitting you with thing after thing after thing, and it's just beautiful, just beautiful.
There are
It's
so
the
many
number one.
moments in this book that, yeah, that I remember so fondly and love, and
Yeah,
one of those for me, and again, I have to admit, there's 2 different adaptations that have been very well done. There was the
sure.
miniseries on television, and now we've got the movie duology that's also very nicely done. I'm challenged to decide which of those I like better, actually, because they each have their different strengths.
Yeah,
But so what I'm gonna say here as a favorite, it's like, okay, which thing do I remember this from? But that final meaningful, memorable bike ride. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because I don't want
Yes.
to give anything away, but that's a moment. I'm like, yes. Yeah, there's just lots of moments throughout here.
I'll say about the adaptations, I think the casting for the new movies, the 17 and 19 movies,
Hmm.
was spot on. I love the casting for the kids and the
Yeah,
adults.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the casting for the miniseries, it's the adults that I appreciated more than the kids.
Right.
I thought they did the adults really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah.
Good. Number 1, I love it. Okay, so we have your list, 10 to
Got my
1.
list.
So people, give us your comments. What do you think? But, you're a massive Stephen King fan, so I just sense you gave us the
Yes.
top 10, you gotta have a little something, something extra.
Oh my goodness. Yep. I I
Yes.
got I got a bonus for you, Jim.
All right,
Top,
something. Give us
top,
something more.
I got my top novella, and then I have a top short story if you're interested
Okay.
in that too.
And he's
Uh,
been very successful with the shorter content. I mean, a whole bunch of these have been adapted to movies and shows
yep.
too.
Yep. Over Stephen King's career, I think he has made or published 5 or 6 short story collections. He keeps doing it.
Yeah,
He feels like writing short form fiction keeps him sharp because it's a totally different medium.
right.
Okay, so actually for novella, I'm equally split. I couldn't pick a top. It's a
Don't
top
go to the
2. It's
dark
a top
tower.
1
Don't do it.
tie.
Don't
No,
do
no,
it.
no, no. No
Okay.
Dark Tower. These novellas both appeared in the same collection, different seasons in 1982, and they are equally as memorable. Both have excellent film adaptations,
I could
and
guess what you're going to
I'm
give us
wondering
here.
what they are, if
I
you know
want to
what they
hear it.
are. So, Rita Hayworth in The Shawshank Redemption,
Absolutely.
adapted as The Shawshank Redemption, and The Body,
Yes. Stand
adapted
by
as
me.
Stand By Me. Yep.
Yeah.
Both
Oh, good picks,
amazing.
my friend. Good picks.
Yeah, yeah.
But give us
Can't
why you picked those then.
So again, both have a story. The Shawshank Redemption is so clever. It's a clever tale, and it's just again the themes of hope, the theme of kind of sticking it to the man. Just a wonderful tale, and the adaptation in this case only strengthens my
And Tim
appreciation for the
Robbins,
story.
Morgan Freeman, they just
Yep.
knock it out of the park.
Funny thing about the adaptation, so in the story, Red is called Red because he's an Irish guy with red hair,
Yeah, they kind of mess
and
with that.
and they mess with it in the adaptation. People
But
are
it's
like, Andy goes, "Why do they call
beautiful.
you Red?" And Morgan Freeman goes, "Probably because 'cause I'm Irish." So that's hilarious. And the
Mhm.
body, it's so on the surface, it's a tale about friends going to see a dead body, but it is so much more than that. It's so layered. It's
Yeah.
so deep friendship and exploring themes of, domestic violence and just all the things that have happened to these boys and how they stick together and things.
It's
And
a little
it's,
bit connected to that coming of age theme, though, that you
yep,
appreciate too, where they're
yep,
they're
love the coming of
growing through
age.
this experience now, and yeah.
I may have lifted a line from the body for my new new book. You'll have to read it and see.
December 1st.
December 1st. Okay, short story. This is impossible because there are so many great ones to choose from, so many to choose from. But I chose one, and this is one I chose it because it's a great little yarn, but it's also a good Stephen King starter for those reticent people who are like, I don't want to read Stephen King,
Ah,
too scary. Ugh."
okay.
So this is the one I choose. Stationary Bike from 2003. Ever heard of it?
Which collection is it in?
Oh goodness, I
'Cause I've
didn't write
read
that down.
I've read
Oh,
multiple collections, but that particular name doesn't jump out for me.
yeah, I don't know. Oh, I'm disappointing myself to say I
Alright,
don't
I'm
know, and
doing I'm
I
doing
didn't
a
write
hot
it down.
search right now as
You
we're
search
live.
for it while I talk about it.
That's
So
right.
this is it's a longer short story. If you listen to it on audio, it's just about 2 hours exactly. It's a story of a single guy that lives alone, a bachelor who's an artist, and he does illustrations for ads.
Mhm.
And he's gotten a little overweight, or maybe a lot overweight. and his doctor tells him you got to lose weight, man, or something bad is in your future. So he decides to go purchase a stationary bike. He puts it down in the basement of his apartment and starts riding on it. And he hates it. So he
I understand. I
decides,
had one of those. I hate
yeah,
them.
he decides to use his artistic talent and paint a scene, a road in front of him on the wall, so he can feel like he's getting somewhere. And he
Yeah.
gets a map and he plots out where he's going on the map. This takes place before all the new stuff,
But barely. This is I
but
found it.
barely.
It's a
Yeah, it's 2003.
2003 collection,
Yeah,
Just After Sunset. I have
just
not
after
read this one.
sunset.
This is one of
Yeah,
the more recent, I've read the older ones. I hadn't read
yeah.
this.
Anywho, so this guy, he kind of goes to another place when he's riding his bike where he feels like he's actually on the trail.
Okay.
And then scary things start happening. Like
Of
things
course they do.
things show up in his painting that he did not put there. And it gets scarier and scarier. Finally, he realizes someone is following him. Someone's following him on the bike.
On a
He re-
stationary bike.
he resolves to dismantle the bike. Like, this is getting too real and too scary. And he goes down there with a wrench. And an hour later, he's sweating, waking up from his time on the bike. And the bad guys have gotten closer and closer and closer. And so I won't spoil the ending,
Now, you said this
but
was one of the less scary and an easy way for people to move into King,
it
and
is
you just
less
scared their
scary.
pants off.
It's less scary. There's a suspense element, and then the way it ends, you're like, oh, that was so awesome. And that's
Okay.
what his short stories often do. Like the earlier ones, the shortest ones are just bam, hit you in the face with something that'll make you chuckle or something. And this kind of calls back to that. It's like, nice, good, got me. All right.
There we go.
So many short stories, way too many to choose from. I routinely curate, I like lend out my short stories books with lists of like, read this first, then this, then this, then this, because there's so many good ones. And it's a good way to dive into King if you're not ready for The Stand.
That's right. It's lower commitment. You can get through it a little
Yeah.
faster. Yeah. Yeah. All right. There it is, my friends.
There you go.
Eric has given us his top 10 and a little something extra for you. Great stuff. If you haven't experienced these yet and you think you might like Stephen King, well, now you've got some more books to go chase down. Find these, see why they're so good. Now, he gave us 2 that are in the Dark Tower. Sorry, if you haven't read the Dark Tower series, now you've got to go read 7 books and a novella.
All of them.
You just have to. You can't just pick and choose. It does not work that way.
Or at least up to number 3, Jim, right? Because 2 and 3 are in my top 10.
No, that's fair. Yeah, read 1, 2, 3, and if at that point you hate it and you hate Eric, stop. But
if you want,
you will. I think if you made it that far, you're going to want to keep going.
Yeah, if you want to talk Stephen King, maybe Jim will put my author email down at the bottom.
Happy to do so. I will also be dropping the link to his website for his Drakenard Chronicles. Be sure to check those out. Again, 3 books, but this is not a trilogy. This is just how far the series is at this point. There will be more to come. And
there will be more. Do I know what will happen? No, but neither did Stephen King, so I'm good.
There you go. All right. This has been fun. You brought it, Eric, just the way I was hoping you would.
Awesome.
And you gave us stuff to chew on. You gave me things to rail about and agree with. And that's where it's at. Reading is subjective. The love of books, it gives us something to debate.
Yes, sir. But Zombie Fallout is still bad.
Yeah, look down, guys. I just finished that one. Number 23 in the series. And 24 is about to come out in audio.
You're never going to get that time back, Jim. You have a huge TBR.
But I will admit, as I read this one, I'm like, oh yeah, Eric's right. Some of this humor is really juvenile.
In 23 books, you think you'd get better.
Me, though, I still enjoyed it, but I get why you don't. I totally respect that. I don't even think the author, Mark Tufo, would try to say, I write quality literature. No, he doesn't. He writes zombie pulp that you should enjoy. It's just for the fun of it.
Okay.
I
I'll
find
read The Dark Tower multiple times instead.
now over there is a different kind of series you might actually appreciate. It's still zombie apocalypse, Surviving the Evacuation.
Ooh,
And that's book 3 that I just finished. I'm on book 4 now.
okay.
And it's one where you could read the first trilogy and it kind of wraps up. Book 4 goes back to some of the same events, but now from different perspectives, different POVs.
Okay.
So try the first 3 books. They're all fairly short. And if you like it, well, there's a lot more to read. Yay. If you don't like it, well, that's all the commitment you need. So, wow. There we go. Surviving the Evacuation. Anyways, we could talk about books for hours, but I think that's where we should leave them today.
Sounds like a plan.
Thanks for your time here, Eric. It's been a blast. Always fun to chat with you about good books and Stephen King.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone, again, don't forget, comment box for your thoughts, like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Yes.